Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at flyfisherinsiderpodcast. Now let's begin. Today our guest is Peter Long from Freestone Fly Company. Freestone Fly Company is a premium fly subscription box. This BC-based brand is quickly becoming the leader in the fly business niche. Here today to tell us more about this is Peter. Peter, welcome to the show.
Hey Greg, thanks for having me.
Hey, no worries. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. I know you got a lot to tell us today about your business, but before you tell us about your business and whatnot, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, man. My name's Peter Long, and I was born and raised in British Columbia here and down in the Lower Mainland. And I have an aquatic sciences conservation background as far as schooling, and I'm kind of 5 years into that career before I decided to kind of get into my own kind of thing. And it was supposed to be kind of just like a side hustle type of deal, but it's quickly evolving and transforming into a full-time gig. And I'm hoping to take it to, just keep the ball rolling.
Peter, I want to take it back even further before we start talking about the brand. When did you first fall in love with fly fishing itself?
Yeah, it was probably really dedicated to fly fishing was probably about 10 years ago, just out of high school. Started to get into the stillwater scene here in BC. It started out with trolling spratlys and big ugly leeches and just stuff like that. But then, it quickly evolved into, indicator fishing and crawny fishing and all that different ways. And then now just most recently, just trying to be a more able angler in all areas. Especially I've been hitting a lot of rivers and small streams and stuff like that, and trying to expand it's constant. Anyone in fly fishing knows that there's always new things to learn, and that's just it's been awesome. And fly tying, and sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but it started about 10 years ago, and then it's just snowballed from there.
It's funny because your journey seems very much like myself, like trolling the big flies, trolling spratlys, and up in the still waters for sure. And I totally agree with you on that. And then progressing into more technical and finesse and stuff like that. So definitely. So here you are, you have 10 years into it, your passion, you got this job, and all of a sudden you have this aha moment. I want to create a business. What was that like? And tell me what you guys created.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always wanted to have my own business. I've always wanted to kind of, dump my energy into something. And it didn't really dawn on me to do anything, because I never really wanted to do anything fly fishing related, because that was, something, my hobby, something that I did to enjoy. I didn't want to make a job per se out of it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know exactly what you're talking about.
I didn't want to, but it kind of just happened where I thought, I originally saw Post Fly, the original fly company, and, my main competitor really out east in the States. But I thought it was a really cool idea that they were doing, and I thought it was really neat. And then I started thinking, I'm like, man, up here in Canada, we're just at such a disadvantage with, mail based items like subscriptions. And it's such a great business model because it's like Christmas every month, you're getting something new. And I just thought it was such a fantastic idea. But for Canadians, it's the shipping. Obviously, every Canadian knows it's just absolutely outrageous. And to get something over the border, it takes forever. And so that's the original kind of that's the initial kind of thought in my mind that kind of started this whole thing. Oh, maybe I could do something. I'm based in British Columbia. Maybe I could. And then it just kind of progressed from there. And I don't have a business background at all. So it was all a very steep learning curve for me to try and figure out all the nuances to running a business like this. And honestly, it took about 12 months to really nail things down before it was kind of a well-oiled machine. And it was, I could kind of run it methodically rather than spontaneously having to do things here and there.
So, Peter, I want to talk about some of those learning curves because I think they're important to highlight and talk about. What were some of those early day struggles or roadblocks that you faced that you've overcome, and how did you do that? Can you tell us about that? Walk me through it.
Yeah, I think the initial thing was just the legality behind, starting up a business, getting a domain, getting a website, where you should. The biggest hurdle that I ran into was where I should be allocating my capital, where I should be spending my money. And anyone that starts a business, you're going to spend money in the wrong places. That's just how it goes. Even if you have a rock solid business plan, you're going to spend money on things that don't need to be spent. Have money spent on it. And that was one of the steepest learning curves for me, was like, okay, now that I can look back 2 years, I'm like, I know I needed it. I didn't need to spend that many dollars there. I could have allocated it here. I would have been ahead. But I don't really truly think that you can only have that realization when you've gone through it. And it's kind of a trial and error thing. Out there, the website building part and just, getting registering your business name, and whether you're going to be a sole proprietor or you should incorporate, and, all your articles and the legalese behind it. That's all stuff that was very intimidating. And if you don't, if some like myself, if you're not super familiar with how those things work, it is intimidating. But there's lots of resources out there. There's lots of people that you can talk to. And I utilized my friends and family and people who might have knowledge. And it comes down to how bad you want to get it going. And if you are really motivated and you really want to get it done, then there are resources. You just got to find them. It's the advice I could probably give to anyone.
I agree with you there, Peter. Here you are. You put all this behind you now. Like you've got your business is up and running. You got the steady traction and going. What's the focus? What's the core focus of your business?
The core focus. Well, initially it was kind of to I'll be able to offer a unique kind of fly subscription, in the way that we wanted to kind of be bigger and better and offer more, but it just really within the confines of how much you're charging, how much people are willing to pay for a subscription like this. And it just wasn't super realistic. So I had to kind of scale things back and simplify. And okay, I need to provide people with the base. People want flies, and they want different types of flies. They want to learn what's out there, because there's a million patterns out there and for a million different ways of fishing. And so the focus kind of evolved to, okay, how can we provide customers with a really exciting experience that isn't going to completely bust the wallet open. And that has been, again, it's taken 2 years to kind of refine that down and manage costs and be able to provide something that people were actually stoked about, and where we could also generate an income on as well. And that's something that I'm always working on. I'm always working on contents and fly variety and options and different things to include. I always my priority is for my customers to be able to have something new and exciting and experience something that they may not have experienced otherwise if they weren't a customer of mine. So that's kind of where the focus has evolved to. The last 6 months has been really good. And I think people are really digging that kind of mantra behind my company.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that, the last little bit, like your product is just really ramped up. And, I think every time someone opens the box, or every time I open a box, it's like, wow, holy crap, this is awesome, right? Like what's inside. I think that, that's something that you guys have really maintained over the time. But it wasn't always that way. Like, where are you sourcing your product from, and how have you guys evolved into that new standard? Like you guys are in Canada, the premier subscription for fly boxes for the delivery method. Where are you getting your product from? Where are you getting your tires from? Walk me through that, and walk the listeners through that.
Yeah. So initially we initially had a physical box. So it was like a 8x4x2 kind of box, going with the subscription box. People wanted a box, but it just was so cost prohibitive, especially in Canada, to ship an actual box, where we found that items can actually fit into like a mailer, like a soft mailer, which cuts the shipping costs down dramatically, which also enables us to be able to offer free shipping across Canada and the US, like straight across the continent pretty much, which is I'm pretty certain is kind of an unprecedented thing, especially for a Canadian company. So we've kind of figured out how to not manipulate, but we've kind of figured out the best angle to be able to offer free shipping, which is huge, especially for Canadians. Deliver everything that we want to, which is another big thing. So there's certain thresholds that we have to meet. I'm kind of kind of getting off topic, but yeah. So our products, I've been reaching out to lots of third party companies because I want to start incorporating other companies' sweet products that I think are super cool. That again, I go back to that customers may not have had access to or didn't know about. And usually, I have a 6-page. Not usually, I always have a 6-page fly guide. So it goes over the flies, their deployment, a little bit of history. I also have a fly tying kit, so I incorporate them both. So if someone wants to switch over to the trout fly option or vice versa to the fly tying, they can do that and see what it's all about. There's a recipe. I always have a pro tip of some sort. So I have the option for these third-party companies to kind of not advertise, but just tell people what they're all about and what their product's about. And I'm hoping to start doing that in the next actually couple months. And some of the companies I've reached out to are stealth fly products. They've got all sorts of stuff from fly tying materials to different indicators and different bits of gear. And fly vines is another one. They take recycled fly lines and make bracelets out of them. I think it's so cool. I really love that upcycling nature to their business. It's super cool. Fly trap, that's another one that I've been chatting with. And yeah, and then so for my flies themselves, I have a really fantastic wholesaler, and they're based in Nepal, and I talk to them all the time, and I know what their operation is like, and I'm actually planning on visiting them soon. They've been our fly supplier since day one, and their quality. I've had samples from other wholesalers overseas and domestically, and I pay more for the wholesaler that I've gone with. But the quality's there, and I've had that feedback come back from customers like, wow, like these flies are fantastic. They're fantastically tied. Their quality's good. They stay together. They can fish for a while. They don't deteriorate. Like, how we've all had a fly that's just completely fallen apart as soon as it hits the water. And it's like the worst thing, especially if you've gone to a fly shop and you paid like $3 for it or whatever.
Exactly. You look at your business model. Why do you guys think you're so successful in this niche compared to other people that haven't always been as successful in this niche? Why do you think that would be, in your words?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I think people can see. I mean, I work on this thing 7 days a week, hours a day. Like, I am constantly trying to make the experience better for my customers. And I think that is, people can see that. People appreciate it, especially up here in Canada. As far as I know, I'm the only guy doing this in Canada. So people like to support local companies. People like to support Canadian companies, especially up here in Canada. And I think that has gone a long way. I've also made an effort to really reach out to the local fly fishing community and try and get involved and try and, not just as like, oh, I want to market to these people. I'm trying to get involved in the way, like, I want to donate product for sponsor giveaways or sponsor contests. And one, for example, I sponsored an iron fly event. I was just one of the many.
That was recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a month or two ago, I think. And yeah, I mean, that sounds like a super cool thing too. I'd love to be there for that, for one of those events. Sounds like a lot of fun.
You know what? I'm gonna cut you off for a sec. I think if you do one, we want a podcast from there. How's that sound? You do that, I'll podcast live from there. We'll live stream it. How's that sound?
Yeah, man, that would be unreal. It sounds like it's a really neat concept. Like, I just love it. It's so cool. Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
I just look at it like this. Like you said earlier, you figured out a way, and I hopefully Canada Post isn't listening. You figured out a way how to do free shipping, which is huge, right? The shipping and like you said, like I always hate ordering things from when they come up to Canada, because we do get hit at the doorbell right then and there. They ring the doorbell, they got their little machine out, and you got to pay for it again because of the duty, right? So additionally it's all these extra charges, and everyone that does know the shipping in Canada is ridiculously expensive. But you guys have figured out a way to do that. I have seen, subscription boxes, maybe not in so much as in the fly fishing, but other subscription boxes come and go like the wind, right? But you have a quality product, you've sourced your products.
Yeah.
Tell me about your tires. Where like who you also feature tires. I know you feature, tell me about that.
Oh yeah, 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 absolutely. So the fly tying kit was one of our. I keep saying we and our. I did have this company. I should backtrack a little bit. This company did start with two other fellas. One being my brother and one being a lifelong friend. Um, that have since departed. So it's just me now. It was an amicable thing, and it was for the best on all facets. So I keep
Okay.
saying our and we, but it's actually just me now. I just wanted to get that out there. If I do say we and our, but yeah. Anyways, I started the fly tying kit option in December, so right before Christmas, and I was just trying to get some traction with the Christmas sales season. It was really it took even with all my pre-planning and everything, it did take 2 months to kind of really get it going and really get it dialed in. It's a lot of effort to get all the materials and kind of divvy them up into, to be able to tie a dozen flies and times that by however many orders are that month. But this last month, so I teamed up with Sean Chali, and I hope I'm not butchering his last name,
Yeah.
but he goes by Fly Culture on Instagram, and he's also from Kelowna. He is a super cool dude and an absolutely amazing tire. Like his ties are just phenomenal. Like he's up there as one of the tops in the province, I would say. And he runs his own fly selling. He just launched his website, I think, a month or two ago, and he ties everything. And it's just, I mean, like the amount of man hours to just tie something that he ties, like he puts a lot of effort into it. And I really don't think he charges that much, to be honest, for a premium hand tied fly like that. So if you want to, that's another option. And I think he gets out. So basically, how it worked is I reached out to Sean. I was like, hey, man, I want to feature some local tires, and you're right at the top of the list. Would you be interested in supplying a pattern and kind of a tutorial? And we can kind of cross promote, and people can kind of find out about you and what you're doing. And also, it benefits my customers because they're getting a sweet fly and yeah, a sample. So I physically bought the samples from him. And so everyone got a piece of his work with their tying kit, and the samples do come in the tying kits, but this one was a special one that is actually one of his flies. People loved it. We cross promoted for about a month, and like it was awesome. And we're definitely going to do that again in the future.
Yeah, it took off. It did really well. I remember that. Are you going to do that with other tires? Is this something that the brand is looking at, like as a goal or as an added value for your customers or in future customers, like current customers and future customers? Are you going to have like a featured tire of the month kind of thing where you feature that fly in that tire? So if I wanted, say, a particular pattern from this tire, is that something that's going to be available? Is that like going forward something that you guys are thinking?
Yeah, like going forward, I want to. It's not going to be every month because I do want to kind of keep it
Hmm.
like a kind of cool surprise and like a cool. I don't want to, not that it would be overwatered, but I want to keep it kind of like a special thing. So I'm focusing on doing it either
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
biannually or even quarterly, including a featured tire into the fly tying kit, because I think people, it's just another avenue to go down to get people to find out about new things that they may not have otherwise found out about if they weren't a subscriber. So that's the whole, going back to your focus question. That's kind of that's comes full circle with that. Is I want customers to experience new things or find out different things or different products, and in ways that they would only be able to do that if they were actually subscribed to the Fly subscription. So that's just kind of how it's evolved.
No, absolutely, Peter. I like how you're doing that. I talk about the box. So what comes in the box exactly? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I alluded to the Fly Guide. I think that takes the most work for the month. Is so every month is different, completely different, and there's it's kind of a quasi newsletter slash fly tutorial. It's got a whole bunch of different items in it. It's 6 pages long, and it definitely is, like I said, the most work for myself to put forward, and I spend a lot of time on it, and I outsource. Like I said, there's pro tips in there, just different things that, again, people may not have picked up on, different knots, different ways to rig an indicator system, proper photo. I don't like saying the word proper, but like photo taking techniques. If you want to get a photo of your fish, and you want to cause the least amount of harm to it, and there's different precautions you can take. And so that was 1 month I did that. And then and then the Fly Guide itself, what flies are what the names are, a little history, their deployment, the fly tying recipe. There's usually a sale going on that I try and promote to people, if that's kind of exclusive to the subscribers. Or I often do giveaway contests. So like I think in March, I did one where I gave away, I think it was a hat and maybe some stickers or something. And that all you needed to do was the subscriber just tag me in a post on Instagram or a story, and you'd be into the draw. And I think it was a girl out in Ontario. She won it, which was pretty cool. She was stoked. She sent a picture of her wearing it out on the water. So it's always really cool to see that. So included with the Fly Guide is have the flies, obviously. So it's 12 flies total, 6 different patterns. So you get 2 of each. Usually it's a mixture of, sometimes it'll be dry fly heavy, sometimes it'll be like midge or small nymph heavy, or usually there'll be a couple big streamers in there if that's the case. I always try and mix it up so it's not always, visually it looks different every month, because I think that's a big thing too, just opening things up. And visually you need to kind of stimulate people, and I think I've been doing that. I always include a high quality vinyl sticker, and a lot of the artwork has come from a local artist. She lives in Prince George. I actually met her originally working a forestry gig in Campbell River, so that was like years and years back. And we've just kind of stayed in touch, and she's a fantastic artist. So she's been providing a lot of the artwork
Okay. Yeah.
for the stickers over the last 6 months or so. I also, every new subscription comes with a 1-year Trout Unlimited membership, which is people are really into. So you can get,
Well, that's cool. So you partnered up with them, and so and you get that. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's just a program that they run. Is you can sign up to be a Trout Unlimited endorsed business, and basically you're sponsoring Trout Unlimited, and in return, your customers or whoever there's different parameters for guides and fly companies, and just slightly different. But basically, the gist is my customers can get a free 1-year membership to TU, and that comes with their magazine, I think some stickers and some other swaggy items like that. It's a biggest freshwater conservation initiative in North America. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to be involved with it or support it. Like, it's just a fantastic organization, and obviously very, very large, and doing lots of great work.
What's some other great events or charity or events that you guys might be sponsoring or partaking in?
Yeah, I've reached out to that's super funny that you just talked to Mariko.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the director of the Fly Fishing Film Festival, and I've just reached out to her, and I am hoping to get, because they always have like raffles and stuff, and and door
Mm-hmm.
prize items, and so I've reached out to her to see if I can sponsor the event in Chilliwack, and I think that's going to happen.
Let me ask, a business to have longevity. Where do you see this business in 5 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't forecast
Where
more
do you
than like
dream?
6 months at the moment. But yeah, where do I dream? I mean, it would be really cool to have a brick and mortar shop, but I don't know if that is a realistic
That
thing,
was my next
especially
question.
for the
Yeah.
model of my business. Yeah, I think it would be really cool just to provide a hangout, and just somewhere. But I mean, there are those places
Mm-hmm.
around, and so it's not like not like I would be providing it. Although in Langley, I mean, there's no fly shop. There's no fly shop from Surrey, I guess, up into Maple Ridge, and then Fred's in
Mm-hmm.
Abbotsford. There's a big, and when Wholesale Sports kind of left town, I mean, that was inevitable because they were just a gong show
Yeah.
there. But yeah, Michael and Young in Surrey, and Hatchmatcher in Maple Ridge, and then Fred's in Abbotsford, and then there's this massive hole where there's no fly shop, which I find just boggling because Langley's just blowing up right now, has been for years. Um, so I don't know, maybe that would be cool. I don't know if that's, I don't know how much benefit it would provide for my business model, though. I think it would just be kind of more of a want than a
Exactly.
need.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? Like, yeah, and really, like, by this Christmas, I'm trying to, Christmas and Father's Day are the two kind of peak seasons for um, my business, and I've got certain marks that I want to hit. So I shouldn't say that I only think in like 6 month increments. There I do have goals that and benchmarks that I want to reach.
Peter, I want to ask you, what do you think your biggest takeaway is so far from everything that you've learned?
Biggest takeaway? Let's see. That's a good question. Sorry, this compressor just went off in the background and it really distracted me. I think that knowing, I mean, this is for any business, but knowing your audience, who you're going to market to. If you have a product or if you have an idea of what you want to do, I think knowing who you're going to market this thing to, is the biggest thing to think about and really pour effort into. And following up with that is really make sure people will, from my experience so far, people will really key in on if you're delivering a product that
Mm-hmm.
you've put a lot of work into. So I think that will show and resonate with people, without you even meaning to do that. And I think it just shows through anyways. And then vice versa. So if you're not putting a lot of effort into your product, or if you're kind of sending out something that's subpar, people are going to key in on that as well. Which, that was something that the early days of this company, we didn't have all our ducks in a row because it's just a learning curve, and you continue to learn and refine, and that was some of the feedback we got is like, hey guys, like, you're saying that you're saying one thing, but it's kind of coming across as another. So I've been ultra, not sensitive, but ultra concentrated on delivering product that poured a lot of effort into.
Fair enough, Peter. Well said. Peter, I do want to ask you, and if any listener knows in the show, I always ask the one question: what's one thing you would change within the fly fishing industry?
I've been thinking a lot about this a lot, and I see things. I'm pretty involved on social media, especially Instagram. Facebook, I kind of just get overwhelmed with. There's just so much going on with that. But I've started to get on Facebook a bit more too, with the forums and stuff. But one thing that I see, and I think Facebook's probably a bit worse for this, is just the kind of toxic, just kind of this negative, you're doing this wrong, or you're not doing this the way I think should be done. And just kind of really like just ragging on people, especially people that, are just getting into it, or, fly fishing notoriously hasn't been the most like friendly, I don't want to say like group of people, but just it's hard. It's always been kind of a difficult, overwhelming thing to get into because there is so much stuff that goes into fly fishing, gear and flies, and you know different methods of fishing, different water, how to read the water, all that stuff. Like, it can be really can be really daunting to anyone that's starting out. And that being said, there's also a lot of really great people out there that are super willing to lend a hand or give some feedback or whatever. But I think the one thing that I've been seeing a lot of is just kind of this like rampant
Hmm.
sexism um, with that, because there's a few of my ambassadors that are female, and I'm making a mission to of mine personally to I have half female, half male, because I want it to be. I think fly
Yeah.
fishing should be all inclusive. I have two daughters of my own. I want them to get into the sport. I mean, if they want to, I just bought my
Oh yeah,
eldest
yeah,
an
yeah.
Echo Gecko rod that I'm getting outfitted for her. So like, and to see some of this crap that these my female ambassadors, I'm not going to name any names, but that they go through, I just can't believe it. And I guess kind of being a male, you maybe don't see that as much, but like just awful stuff that people are saying, and it's solely based on them being female. And I just can't believe it. I think it may be a bit more prevalent in the States. I don't want to
Oh,
rip on the States or
yeah.
anything, but I kind of see that being more of a, you're a girl and you fly fish, and like, oh, like, do you know how to, just kind of second guessing. And yeah, I'm totally blown away by it, and really actually disgusted by it. And I think there's no place in for that kind of mentality in any, really anything. So I wish that would leave,
Yeah.
leave,
You're not alone in
and
that. I mean, I've interviewed
yeah,
lots of people, and it's this is a common trend. And I just interviewed someone before you, and it was the same thing that they mentioned as well. So you're definitely, Peter, not alone in that. And for any of you listeners out there, I think it's time we put down the hate and started to celebrate other focuses that are going on. So definitely agree with that. You know what, Peter? Wow, we've covered a lot today. And I do want to thank you. But before I let you go, I want to ask you: is there anything you have for our listeners today?
yeah, well, absolutely. So I just want to reiterate, anyone that's interested in the subscription, or wants to know more, they can contact me. I run our Instagram page, so just send me a message. And usually, if someone's interested in wanting to try it out, or like, hey, I'm really, want to try it out, if they just send me a message, and I'm really pretty liberal with like giving pretty substantial discounts, or just to try it out, or I always like, if someone wants to get I'm not going to say if someone wants to get sponsored, because I have my set ambassadors right now, and I do that annually. So I kind of bring on new people, see how that goes. But if people are, have an event that they, need some gear for, or whatever, stuff like that, I'm always really open to it, and encourage people to reach out. I just did a 2000. I just got my 2,000 followers on Instagram. Well, now I'm up to 2,200, and I did a
Awesome.
big giveaway for that. Some fella in Idaho won a hat and 2 dozen flies, and so I'm constantly kind of doing that kind of stuff, and just trying to generate more of a, positive presence in the community, and giving back. And because ultimately, the fly fishing community is what is making this business successful. Like, if they didn't exist, I wouldn't have anyone to sell flies to. So I'm always trying to think of new ways to kind of give back, and I'm very open to doing that. And so like I said, the promotion that's going to be running, so this is going to run until the Father's Day weekend, right up until the Sunday. And that is the free fly pack, so it's like a value of 20 to 25 bucks. And if you go out and search for that additional 20% promo code that my ambassadors all have, so it's an additional 20%. I think you could get started on this sub for less than $20 after the discount, and that's going to net you close to 2 dozen flies. We got some really cool because I always provide a little bonus item. That could be some months
Mm-hmm.
it's a leader, some months it's tippet ring, some months it's I had just collaborated with some guy who makes little pocket books, it's like river journals. And people love those. Like, it's
Yeah.
just an extra little like bonus thing. So, and yeah, in the next coming months, I've got some really potentially cool collaborations company with some other third party companies that I'm trying to incorporate, and it's going to be really sweet over the next 6 months. I've got some really cool stuff coming out. So yeah, you could get all that, try it out.
Awesome, Peter. Where can the listeners find you at then?
So you can find me on our webpage. It's www.freestoneflyco.com. And there's blogs and I have my own little kind of blog going, and it's mostly generated around like, uh, past boxes, so people can kind of see what the flies were, and I just put the fly guide up, and can kind of get an idea of what comes each month, which I think really it resonates with people because they kind of want to have, want to somewhat know what they're getting themselves into. And then I have some other little bits of information, and always got sales going on. And then if you want to reach out to me directly, hit me on at Freestone Fly Co on Instagram, and send me a message, and I will get back to you. And yeah, that's the easiest way to reach out to me for sure.
Perfect, Peter. You know what? I want to thank you for being our guest today, and I want to thank the listeners as well. Peter, thanks for being our guest.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. I really, I really had a good time, and appreciate you inviting me onto your show.